Either you can force me to check out with someone, or
1 minute.
1 minute. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Either you can force me to check out with a person, or you're just gonna have to trust me that I scanned everything, and occasionally I'm gonna make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
And no, they don't. So I'm just like. Yep. Today on Public Eye News, Ethan Crumbley's parents are set to stand trial, and later, the suspect in a Denver high school shooting has been found dead.
Later, Beck Brewerly will have your weather for your weekend, and Michael Cudahy will have your sports update. Hello, I'm Colin Metzger.
And I'm Michael Cudahy, and this is Public Eye News. And the parents of the Oxford school shooter can in fact face trial, the Criminal Appeals Court decided. Groundbreaking is how this case and criminal responsibility for the acts of a child has been described. The court decided that the Oxford school shooting wouldn't have happened if the parents took Ethan Crumbley from the school at the request of staff that fateful day. The court also decided the shooting wouldn't have taken place if the parents hadn't bought the gun. The court did acknowledge that the legal threshold for this case is low in the state of Michigan and its law. And the Michigan Republican Party is getting burned on both ends of the political candle after comparing gun safety measures that are being considered here in Michigan to the Holocaust. The misleading posts that were made on the party's official Twitter and Facebook pages, the things that Michigan GOP decided to relate to the Holocaust include universal background checks, the requirement for gun safe storage, and extreme risk protection orders, which are more commonly known as red flag laws. The Michigan GOP chairwoman, Christina Karamo, tweeted a defense of her party, saying that they stand by the Holocaust statement.
And a 42-year-old man in Highland Township, Michigan, fatally shot his father-in-law and wounded his wife and mother-in-law before Oakland County deputies arrived and killed the man. The deputies were able to rush toward the gunfire and stop the shooter before any more harm was caused. The man's wife and children had recently moved out of the family home in Dearborn Heights and were living with the wife's parents in Highland Township. The mother-in-law and wife were able to call 911, and while injuries were considered non-life-threatening, according to the sheriff. The 3 children in the home at the time are safe and being cared for. No names at this point have been released. And new legislation in Wisconsin approved yesterday will outline penalties for reckless driving and carjacking, primarily in Milwaukee. The legislation is a combination of 2 bills. One bill would increase penalties for carjacking, and the other would allow police to impound a repeat reckless driver's vehicle, as well as increase the maximum fines. The Milwaukee Police Department in 2022 issued 497 reckless driving citations, a number that is up 32% from 2021. The bill will go to Democratic Governor Tony Evers, who will decide to sign it into law or veto it. Evers spoke with reporters in Milwaukee yesterday and stated that he looks forward to signing both bills. And Women's History Month is a celebration of women's contributions to history, culture, and society. Today, we introduce you to Airline Captain Meliz Ward, the first black female captain for a major U.S. airline. CBS's Danya Bacchus shows us she's now working to make sure other women are following her path.
You need to pull back a little bit.
Whether it's inside a United Airlines flight simulator or flying the friendly skies, Meliz Ward has soared to new heights in aviation during her more than 3 decades-long career.
You know, I never started my career thinking I'm going to trailblaze. I always just felt like I was going to do my job.
In 1998, she became the first black woman captain at United Airlines and the first in the U.S. to fly commercial airplanes. But even before flying with United, she was a pioneer, the only woman to graduate in her Air Force pilot training class and the first black woman instructor pilot in the Air Force.
People saw me in my flight suit and they were like, wait a minute, are you here for pilot training? I'm like, yes. They're like, we've never seen anyone like you. So that was the first time I had an awareness that this was something groundbreaking.
She is now dedicated to bringing other women along for the ride.
There is something about trailblazing that's important, and it's not about the status for yourself, but it's about the opportunities for people behind you.
She plays a part in the ascension of female pilots. She is a flight evaluator at United's Flight Training Center and helps recruit through the United Aviate Academy. The flight school plans to train at least 5,000 new pilots by 2030, with the goal of at least half of them being women or people of color.
My job was to make the road wider. And then the people behind me, the job is to make the road smoother. And so it should continue on until there are no more roads anyway, and no one is talking about this because we've done it all.
Pull back a little bit.
And she's cleared the runway for the next generation of Black women pilots to know this flight path is possible. Danya Backus, CBS News, Los Angeles.
And don't touch that dial. Our courageous weatherman Beck Beerley will be back with your weather report, and I'll be back with your national news after this break.
WNMU-TV's Ask the Experts series gives you the chance to ask area professionals the questions that are important to you. Doctors.
It's guaranteed to reflect UVA and UVB.
Lawyers.
Whether it's a handwritten will or a will that an attorney prepares.
Dentists, DNR, and more. Our live Ask the Experts programs are back.
Hello and welcome back. My name is Beck Burley, and today I'll be talking to you about the weather. It looks like we have a fantastic day on campus with a cloud in the sky. Still some snow on the ground, however. It is still winter out there. Currently across the UP, starting in Houghton, we see some partially sunny skies with a high of 33. Moving down to Ironwood is a high of 34 with some sunny skies. And moving down the UP in Iron Mountain, we have a high of 36 with more sunny skies. Moving across the UP, in Menominee, we have a high of 39 with some sunny skies. Over in Escanaba, we have a high of 41 with partially sunny skies. In Manistee, we have a high of 35 with some more partially sunny skies. And in Sault Ste. Marie, we have a high of 29 with some clouds. And back in our lovely Marquette, it is a high of 35 and sunny. Currently, we are seeing winds out of the north-northwest at 11 miles per hour with a barometric pressure of 29.9 and rising. Tonight, we can see some partially cloudy skies with a low of 15 and winds out of the north-northwest at 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, we can see some more partially sunny skies with a high of 37, a low of 23, and winds out of the east-southeast at 6 miles per hour. Looking ahead, this Saturday, we have a high of 36 with some snowy conditions and a low of 30. On this Sunday, we have a high of 40 degrees, some partially sunny skies, and a low of 23. And this Monday, we can see a high of 37, some cloudy skies, and a low of 27. Back to you, Michael.
Thank you, Beck, for that weather report. A 17-year-old high school student was found dead after being accused of shooting and also wounding two of his school's administrators. The two administrators were shot after conducting a daily security screening of the 17-year-old due to his behavioral issues. East High School, not far from downtown Denver, was the site of the shooting. The shooter was found in the woods about 50 miles away from the school. The county coroner confirmed the identity of the shooter but did not release a cause of death pending an autopsy. Denver's Board of Education has called for a special meeting at 10 a.m. today to discuss the shooting and school security. And TikTok is on the clock as it fights to not be banned in the United States. CEO Shouzi Chu testified before a U.S. congressional committee. TikTok currently has 150 million U.S. users, but parent company ByteDance is based in Beijing, which has some U.S. officials on edge. Chu testified that U.S. data is stored on servers owned by U.S. server giant Oracle. TikTok is putting the full court press against Congress, sending popular TikTokers to Congress to lobby to keep the platform up and running, and also putting up billboards in D.C. promising security measures and privacy for users. ByteDance says the last summer they fired 4 employees for accessing the data of 2 journalists and some people connected to them. And we're waiting to see if a Manhattan grand jury will decide to indict former President Donald Trump. Sources tell CBS News their work is nearly done. This comes as a federal grand jury meets on a different case in Washington looking at whether the former president mishandled classified documents. CBS News' Jared Hill has more from New York.
The waiting game resumes today in Lower Manhattan to see if a grand jury indicts former President Donald Trump. It's investigating a payment to adult film star Stormy Daniels, which former Trump fixer Michael Cohen claims Trump authorized in 2016.
Because Mr. Trump has always had a reputation for having a rather loose relationship with factual accuracy. So if he calls this legal expenses when it is in fact hush money, I can certainly see why that could violate a New York statute.
Trump, who is running for president in 2024, has remained defiant and denies any wrongdoing.
Just a continuation of the most disgusting witch hunt in the history of our country.
Sources tell CBS News Trump is considering holding a news conference outside the court in New York if he is indicted. Once witness testimony wraps up, prosecutors will formally present the charges they're seeking. Then they'll ask the jurors to vote.
Grand juries generally do what the prosecutor asked them to do.
There's also been a development in the separate investigation into the former president's handling of documents marked classified. A federal appeals court has ordered Trump lawyer Evan Corcoran to testify about his communications with Trump concerning the handling of classified materials. Corcoran is expected to appear before that grand jury meeting in Washington on Friday. Jared Hill, CBS News, New York.
And don't go anywhere. After this break, Michael Cudahy will have your sports update.
Consumers today want a lot more information on just where their food is coming from and what's involved in bringing it from farm to fork. America's Heartland gives urban viewers an inside look at modern agriculture. Your chance to meet the men and women on farms and ranches who play an essential role in delivering food, fuel, and fiber to our nation and the world. Real people, real stories on America's Heartland.
Coming up next.
Welcome back. 3 members of this late season magical run by the Wildcats have entered the transfer portal, with Rico DiMatteo, Brett Willits, and now Joey Larson all being inside the portal. DiMatteo was the starter for the Wildcats for a considerable time, playing in 38 games for the Cats with a record of 20, 15, and 2. In his time, he has 2 years of eligibility remaining for his next team. Brett Willits played 16 games this year and 32 in total for the Cats. With 2 years left to play, Willits had 5 points in his Wildcat tenure. And Joey Larson is the biggest blow the Wildcats will face, with top 3 goal scorers already graduating. Larson represented the highest returning scorer. Larson will have 3 years of eligibility left to play and will likely be one of the most sought-after forwards in the portal. And now looking at NMU lacrosse, they've had a back-and-forth season, now sitting at 5-4, with their most recent loss to Walsh University. Down 7-5 at halftime, the Wildcats wouldn't fare much better in the second half, losing the game 13-10. The Wildcats scored first thanks to Caitlin Bridger, and Minnie Patel did cut the lead from 3-2 at the end of the first quarter, with the game being at 4-2. Maddie Bass scored 4 goals. Danielle Kay scored twice, as did Clara Johnson. The Wildcats traveled to Indianapolis for their next road game, this time against the University of Indianapolis, tomorrow at 4 p.m. And looking at the NHL tonight, it's a tank bowl as the Detroit Red Wings will take on the St. Louis Blues downstate in Detroit. The Red Wings are without many key players due to injury, including Robbie Fabry, a former Blue, Adam Ernie, and Silly Ville Husso. Gustav Lindstrom and Simon Edvinsson are both listed as day-to-day on the blue line. Both teams have won 2 games in their last 5, with the Red Wings winning a shootout against the Blues on March 21st. The Red Wings have been trying to find scoring but have been struggling too, with only 3 goals, with having not scored more than 3 goals since March 12th. And the Blues are looking for goaltending, having given up 17 in their last 5 games, including an 8-5 loss to Minnesota last Wednesday. Colin, I'm going to toss it back to you.
Thanks, Michael. 2 inmates in a Virginia jail just wanted to get their pancake fix. The 2 inmates, ages 37 and 43, were found missing after a head count on Monday evening, only to be found at an IHOP restaurant a few hours later. An investigation found that the 2 men used primitively made tools to create a hole in the back of their cell. The local sheriff's office asked for the public's help in locating the men and were rewarded when patrons at the IHOP recognized the inmates. And speaking of escape artists, a bear in Missouri Zoo is headed to a Texas zoo with a moat to hopefully stop the bear from wandering. The four-year-old, 280-pound bear named Ben has escaped twice, once just before the zoo opened for the day and the other time while the zoo was open. No harm was done, but hopefully Ben can enjoy his new home in Texas. And that's all the time we have for you today at Public Eye News. I'm Colin Metzger.
I'm Michael Cudahy.
And we'll see you next time.
The preceding program was produced by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television, in studios located in Elizabeth and Edgar Hardin Hall.